Do we know Cox numbers? I've got 70, I got 77 now, audio.
No, we have no way of knowing.
Welcome in, make yourselves at home. No, not at all. This is your party.
Isn't it? It's your part.
I start calling you, yeah.
Station audio.
Oh, yeah.
Can't tell.
How do you see that?
Station audio.
Yes.
All right. Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for being here tonight for what is now a town hall with Katrina Foley. As you can see by the chairs, Katrina was here. We had intended for Diane Dixon to be here, and I'll give you the story. My name is Ed. I'm the owner and morning guy at the Voice of Laguna radio station. And back in the summer, I had Diane Dixon on the program, and we had talked about whether or not she was going to stay at State Assembly or make a move elsewhere. She indicated at that point she was staying put, and about 9 days later, she announced that she was going to run for county supervisor. So I, at that point, booked this facility for tonight to have a debate between the incumbent, Katrina Foley, and Diane Dixon. Katrina's team responded in about 40 hours. It was less than 2 days. I got a reply back that yes, we'd be delighted to do that. And we were locked in. I like Diane. I just never got a response back from her regarding that. I had to go to the Porsche ribbon cutting here to kind of corner her at one point and say, well, I've got a debate all set up for the 25th. She declined at that point and said, I don't want to debate because the challenger never does well in a debate. My response was, well, tell that to Ronald Reagan in 1979. Tell that to a bunch of other challengers that have done very well. George W. Bush. They all have done very well as challengers in a debate. After another couple of conversations and back and forths, I said, well, let's make it a forum. Let's do a forum, and we can make it fly that way. She declined to do the forum as well. So tonight is going to be a town hall, and I'd like you to do me a favor and please welcome for the town hall, Katrina Foley, please. Thank you. Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Great.
We're going to ask a series of questions, but I would like to give Katrina an opportunity to address you first for a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind. Your mic is hot and ready to go.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody. I'm Katrina Foley, County Supervisor and the Vice Chair for the County Board of Supervisors. This is my 5th year serving as supervisor. I have to use this. And welcome to the fabulous 5th District. The 5th District covers Costa Mesa, where I live, where I was the mayor, city council member, Newport Mesa school board member, and it goes all the way down to San Clemente, picks up 31 miles of beautiful coast, the most strong economic engine for all of Orange County. We have South Coast Plaza, Fashion Island, we have Laguna Beach, and all of the visitors that come here. We have the beaches, we have the harbors, we have the airport. So it's a very vibrant, active district, and we love serving. Some of our top priorities that we've been focusing on over the last 5 years fall into what I would consider 5 categories. The first is, of course, public safety. Public safety is always our #1 top priority. Public safety in terms of public safety against theft. I just had my car broken into last week, so I'm a personal advocate for public safety. Public safety as it relates to fire prevention and response. Public safety as it relates to our e-bikes. That seems to be the issue of the day. And so also as it relates to making sure that the fire personnel, the police personnel that are protecting us, the district attorney's office and their lawyers, the public defenders who are making sure that the system works well, and people have access to justice, the jails, making sure that they're safe and that we're following all the operational requirements. These are all part of the job of making sure public safety is at the forefront. Secondly, economics. Our county is the 9th largest economy in America. We are lucky to live here. We are lucky to be thriving. But that, as far as it relates to the county itself, means that we have to do more with less because we only get 5 cents on the dollar from Sacramento for our property taxes. We're the lowest paid in terms of property taxes of all of all of state of California. So we need to make sure that when we are partnering with the development community, when we are partnering with businesses, that we have good deals for the county. A lot of our parcels in Orange County are sitting dormant, entitled, but not built, and we are leaving money on the table there. So economics is a big part of what I do every day and the work that I'm doing, revitalizing the Dana Point Harbor, getting ready to revitalize Newport Dunes, addressing Laguna Niguel City Center and the development there, and many more. Also, supporting small businesses. 96% of all businesses in Orange County are family owned. So when we support the small businesses, we're supporting families. And I love that. As a small business owner myself, it's important to me that we protect the small businesses, that we reduce the time and the delays for permitting, especially in environmental health. And we've worked on that at the county to reduce down from 4 to 6 months to get your environmental health permit for your restaurant down to 19 days. I'm really proud of that work. And then third category, protecting the public assets, protecting the taxpayers' investment, government accountability. This is really critical at this time. We had a situation over the last couple of years where one of our colleagues managed to steal $13 million. And he used that for his own personal benefit, for the benefit of his family. And guess what? He's in federal prison now. He lost his bar license and he's lost a portion of his pension. I thought he should lose it all. But nonetheless, he's suffering because of his bad actions. And the county taxpayers suffered also. But we've made a lot of reforms, ethics reforms, government contracting reforms. Just on Tuesday, we unanimously voted on a new contract policy manual that is intended to reduce sole source contracts, reduce the number of times that individuals can just go out and spend $5 million without it being overseen by the board, and reduce any opportunity that anybody can act nefariously with your money. Another area of priority for us, given that we are really situated right here on the coast, is climate resiliency and making sure that we are protecting this beautiful paradise that we call home, whether it's sand on the beaches, water quality, access to the beaches. We are prioritizing making sure that we have beautiful spaces, open spaces, and parks and beaches for our families, our visitors to go to. So those are kind of the areas that I've covered. And those are just a few of the topics that we have worked on in the last 5 years. If you go and you look at my year in reviews, you'll see that we have hundreds of initiatives and projects that we've participated in. We're a very active office and nonstop working for you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As far as your car getting broken into, I was at home asleep, I swear. So I have very little to do with that. I do want to go over some of the successes of the supervisors. I will also ask some of the difficult questions and cover a lot of the topics that you just mentioned. I want to start with a tough one that out here in Laguna Beach, we've been struggling uh, to balance fire safety with chemical spraying. And I've gotten, when I announced that you were going to be here tonight, I got most of the questions from inland were about the county and chemical spraying. Can you address that for us?
Sure. So when I first got to the county, I had come from being the mayor of Costa Mesa, where I led the effort for non-toxic Costa Mesa, where we had changed our pest and weed abatement program so that we were using non-toxic applications in order to abate weeds. We actually entered into a pilot project for even a sports field because based on the work that Irvine had done and some of the work that I had researched, I thought for sure we can do this. And so we did. We stopped using Roundup, glyphosate on our sports fields, in our parks, anywhere where the public has access. And so I was really proud of that work. Then when I became the county supervisor, we worked also similarly, Aliso Viejo. They have most of their community is managed by a private property management company. And so there were some residents who came to us, they were concerned that they were spraying glyphosate and that it was impacting their health, their animals' health, et cetera. So we did a lot of work to research and educate the property management company, and they have agreed to stop using glyphosate there as well. So fast forward to January 2025, and I got an email, and we get hundreds of emails, get a lot of calls, and you said it took 40 hours. In my mind, I was like, oh, that's too long because I have a 24-hour rule. But sometimes, as my deputy chief thinks, that's
To
impossible.
be fair, there was a Sunday in the middle of all of that.
Okay.
To be fair, there was a weekend.
So we got a lot of calls. This is January 2025, so a year ago, and about a potential overspraying of glyphosate in an area, and it was in the area of the San Juan Creek Channel. So we did a little investigating. We contacted our agricultural commissioner, asked him to investigate. The resident, we asked them to file a actual report so that they could launch an investigation officially. And we did. The investigation, it's gigantic, but what it determined was that they were misapplying the herbicide. And so from January 25th, when I became aware of that, until now, and continuing as long as I'm in this seat, we're no longer using glyphosate in our channels, in our flood channels. So you asked a question about fire prevention. And I know that there is it's an internal debate about whether you should use that or not. And so with everything in government, you have to weigh and balance the interests of protecting people from a wildfire, and what is the least amount of herbicide that you can apply. And that is what I know that they do. They follow all the state laws. You know, California, we have the most environmental protections of any state in America. And so all the state laws are followed as it relates to the minimum only of herbicide needed, especially as it relates to clearing wildfire brush that could potentially burn down the community.
So the substitute for glyphosate, is that been successful? Does it work?
It does work, but what the staff will tell you, because look, we can do anything, it just costs money. You know, everything can be done in a better way always. It just costs a lot of money. So manual labor is a potential, but that astronomically increases the cost. Goats is something that is an alternative that we can consider. There's always pros and cons with everything. The goats, as I understand it, there's a con as it relates to they might be eating and trampling into areas where there's nesting. So you got to weigh the pros and cons of that. So there's always some con to every pro. And so we have to just keep weighing the pros and cons and move in the direction of a cleaner community. I mean, I think that's the goal. We passed our climate action plan on Tuesday unanimously. And so I've worked on this for 2 years, and the goal of the plan is to move in a cleaner direction for the community.
Okay, thank you for that. Also on Tuesday, I want to ask you about something that came up on Tuesday, and this is from animal rights advocates. You were placing the OC animal care contract between the county and the cities on your agenda. What happened?
Well, I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but I know there was a request to place an update, not the animal care contract. So the OC animal care, what we voted on Tuesday was the contracts for all the contract cities that use the OC animal care for their care for their animals. And those cities all participated. The city managers were in a working group. They came up with the plan. They agreed on the contract, and then we voted on it. But what I think you're referring to is the discussion during the meeting asking that we bring back a report on the strategic plan. So we have been working on that in our OC Animal Care. Animal Care is in, I think it might be in Supervisor Sarmiento's, Wagner's district, Supervisor Wagner's district. But, of course, we have San Juan Capistrano is one of our contract cities that contracts with animal care. And so that's how I have the nexus with the OC Animal Care. And the strategic plan is a document that is really old. It was prepared, but it has recommendations in it that are maybe outdated in terms of best practices. So our staff are working on it, and they're trying to get it up to date. And we hope that it will be brought before us by the summer. But I will say OC Animal Care has made a lot of great strides over the last couple of years. It's now fully open. You can go in anytime you want. And well, not anytime, during the hours of operation. You don't have to have an appointment, and you can view the animals. We encourage you to, if you want to adopt a large animal, 22 pounds or greater, please do, because we have a lot of those in our shelter. And it's a project that I've a couple of times had free adoptions for large animals because they're very hard to get out into the community. People get really excited about adopting these German Shepherds that are beautiful, and they have, these beautiful eyes, and they're so cute when they're small, and then they don't really fit in your apartment, and they need a lot of space to run. So that's what happens.
We have a 110-pound beast at our house. Yeah.
Yes, you
And
know.
I'm curious, dog or a cat person?
I have a cat. Well, I had a cat. He died
I'm so sorry.
this last month. Sorry, but
Oh my God, that may have been the toughest question of the night. I'm so sorry.
So upset about
I'm
it.
so
He got hit
sorry.
by a car.
This is getting worse. Another of the supervisor's accomplishments, you expanded healthcare access and opened new care facilities all across the county. With healthcare costs rising exponentially, are we going to have to revisit those numbers?
Well, healthcare costs are rising exponentially, not because of anything the county's doing. That's a
Of course.
federal decision. And unfortunately, we all have to pick up the pieces and try to still support the safety net with less money. And that's what we're doing. We're doing everything we can as a county to protect our system of care. In the last 6 years, we have built out an incredible system of care that is a lot better than anyone could ever have expected 6 years ago. We have mental health services for most people in the county. We have a whole system of care intended to prevent homelessness and react to individuals who are experiencing homelessness. We have social workers and care and coordination case managers that go out into each of our cities, into the community, and they directly work with individuals who are experiencing homelessness to try to get them into recuperative care, into shelter, housing, maybe return them back to their homes if their families, are contacted and are willing to help. So we have a whole system of care. The cuts that are coming from the federal government have impacted our housing. especially as it relates to housing for the disabled. We've lost 1,200 housing vouchers for the housing for the disabled because of the cuts. We've lost, we're getting ready to lose a lot of funding as it relates to Medicaid. And so we just have to hope that the private community can step up and support people, because we have a lot of hungry people. We have a lot of people who need healthcare. Our hospitals are telling me, I have a lot of great relationships with the Hospital Association, talking with the hospitals directly about what are some of their concerns. The hospitals are telling me that they are concerned that the ERs are going to be full again. We really have managed to eliminate that. Like, instead of going to preventative care, you go to the ER. Now we're going to maybe return to those days. We're going to go backwards. And so we're doing what we can to support the social safety.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you mentioned hospitals, and here in our community of Laguna Beach, hospital is a big, giant item. After years, and I'll say it just in case no one else will, just after years of gaslighting Laguna Beach about their intentions, Providence Mission Hospital is leaving this community without services, without emergency services. What we need is a functioning ER instead of proposing a glorified urgent care, which is what they did. Do you believe Laguna Beach needs an ER? And if the county can help, how would that help look? And should the county help provide the emergency services that we need?
Well, in preparation and also in response to learning about this issue in reading some of the local news, I did reach out, and I understand Councilmember Whalen, who's in the audience tonight, he is on an ad hoc committee with Councilmember Alex Runagi to develop some kind of action plan as it relates to protecting the emergency room services that would be available to Laguna Beach residents and visitors. And let's just be clear, there are millions of people that come through this town of 25,000 people. And so it is.
Well, the thought is, if I may, the thought is if someone visiting our beach having,
Well, yeah.
having an incident needing emergency services, right?
So just to help you all feel maybe a little bit better in terms of this is not happening tomorrow, because the research I did today was to talk with our healthcare agency about what are the steps that have to be taken if an emergency room hospital wants to shut down. How does that work? What can we do as a county? So the Attorney General has to approve that. They can't just close the hospital. It has to be approved by the Attorney General. And there's a whole procedure that has to happen. As part of that procedure, there has to be an analysis of need and of response times. You know, let's just say this is, as we all know, Laguna Canyon Road, PCH, very hard to get through for emergency vehicles in an emergency. So if you're going to say, oh, now we have to take someone from Main Beach all the way to Mission Hospital, that is possibly the difference between life and death for somebody having a heart attack, as an example. So all of this is to say, I'm on it. If someone brings an issue up to my attention, I just do a deep dive into the research and understanding of the issue, and then go about trying to find solutions.
Thank you. The county, another success, maintained its AAA rating while approving a $10.8 billion budget. And what you did was you fully funded law enforcement and parks and libraries and roads, beaches, harbors, as well as John Wayne Airport. Congratulations there.
Well, John Wayne Airport is an enterprise zone, so it funds itself, but yes.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that clarity. Despite instability at the state and federal levels, I'll ask you almost the same question that I did earlier. Is A, the investments that the county's making, are you comfortable with the investments that we're making for the next time?
Well, look, the instability at the county is real, and we are taking it seriously. We have a $10.8 billion budget, but that doesn't mean we have discretion over $10.8 billion, because the majority of our budget is mandated programming. So we receive funds from the state and federal government, and we are mandated to implement programs for those funds. And we only have discretion over $125 million annually of the $10.8 billion budget. So that's a tiny little bit of fairy dust of the whole big budget annually. And even that 125 million is pretty narrow in the amount we actually can have flexibility on, because that covers the cost of most of the clerk's office, the CEO's office, the public information officer, all the board offices. So we don't have a lot of flexibility. It's also where it's the only place where we can get funds if we need to backfill any of our mandated programs that are receiving cuts or that are not fully funded. So we are concerned. And what have we done to protect our coffers, to protect our AAA rating, which is the first time we've had a AAA rating since the bankruptcy, by the way? We've invested in capital reserves. So we have a lot of capital reserve investments for projects that we know are coming, but they're not quite ready. They're not shovel ready yet. So we keep squirreling away money for those capital projects. We've invested in IT so that we have money squirreled away for investments in modernizing, because I'll tell you, our county IT system, I mean, it's a lot better than it was when I got there, but it really needed some work. It's very outdated. We've invested in making sure that we have emergency reserves so that we have more than what is the legally mandated amount. And we are actually, this year, we asked for, as we begin our next budget cycle, we asked all departments to bring forward, as part of their strategic financial planning, a 10% reduction for each department. To kick that off, we eliminated all vacant positions so that those are not on the books in terms of something we have to fund because they're vacant. So we eliminated all vacant positions. And I mean, these are the kinds of I think, fiscally prudent measures that we have to take to protect our funds and continue operations and not have any layoffs, continue servicing the community, continue repairing potholes and fences and beaches, and making sure that we continue to uplift our community.
By eliminating vacant positions, is that something that you would revisit from time to time? Because, for instance, I'll give you the Laguna Beach example. They eliminated a vacant position, which was the communications director. And I think that we need a communications director.
Yeah. So look, I think we all want to make sure that the critical positions are maintained. We eliminated vacant positions, but if there is a position that's a necessary position and it happens to be vacant because someone retired, we're going to replace that position. But it has to go through a process through the CEO's office to unfreeze, if you will, the position. And, you know, this is in the area of public protection, in the area of critical services. We definitely want to make sure we're continuing to provide critical services.
Thank you. Give me a moment, and I want to explain to the viewing audience, these are not plastic, by the way. These are 100% biodegradable. So if you're thinking, oh, they're up there with plastic bottles, that is not the case at all. The name of the brand of water is called Water.
I actually did bring my whale watching capital of the world, Dana Point Harbor, can water, but
well, thank
glad you clarified that.
Thank you very much. The OC Registrar of Voters, Bob Page, spent a couple of hours having to publicly discuss election integrity with the Huntington Beach City Council. And this is after claims, unfounded claims, surfaced that 20% of the county voters are unverified. And of course, the Registrar of Voters disputed those findings and found that less than 0.1% of voters are unverified. Can and should the county do more to protect the trust in election integrity? And the second part of that question, should Huntington Beach council members face some kind of sanction for repeating proven misinformation?
Well, I'll answer that question first. Look, this is a place where we have a right to the First Amendment, at least for now. And we have, so if they want to make statements, then they have to prove, and justify their statements, or the voters can take them out. So I'm not going to be sanctioning people. However, as it relates to the integrity of our election system, we have one of the most, I think, credible and protective election system in America here. And I'm not just being exaggerative. This is where our registrar of voters for more than a decade, two different individuals have gone across the country training other registrars on how to make sure that you have access for as many voters as possible, but protecting the sanctity of the system, making sure that the voter rolls are scoured and purged. And I'll give you an example. During all these conversations, we heard a lot about, well, when someone dies, then you purge that name from the voter rolls. And there were people who don't believe that. Well, my dad, sadly, it's around the same time as my cat dying, but my dad died in November. And he had been a registered voter, and we got the letter from the registrar of voters telling us that he's no longer a voter. So the system does work. Same thing happened with my grandma. So the system does work. I think Bob Page shared with our board that he had removed about 150,000 voters from the voter rolls over the last year as part of a systematic scouring of the rolls for if someone has a return to sender, if they died, if there was some notification provided to the registrar that they are no longer eligible to vote, or they are no longer, because of some criminal reason, or they are no longer living in the area. 150,000. And then in addition, the 17 voters that were identified as being ineligible to vote, those were all investigated and removed from the voter rolls. So our district attorney, who's a Republican, has said that there is no election voter fraud in Orange County. And if there is, he will prosecute it. In fact, he did, because he prosecuted a woman who pretended that her cat or her dog was a person, and she did a fake registration. And unfortunately, we shouldn't be messing around with our system in that way. And she got prosecuted.
My condolences, first of all, on your dad as
I
well.
know,
Sorry about that. No, of course. You mentioned the district attorney, and our district attorney, Todd Spitzer, continues
I
grappling.
walked right into that one, didn't I?
It was a good setup. Continues grappling with harassment lawsuits after a second female prosecutor won a lawsuit against the county, claiming that she had faced harassment from a senior prosecutor that he hired that was ignored. In turn, District Attorney Spitzer, through a spokesperson, blamed the case on the former employee and said that county lawyers bungled the investigation by publicly releasing the findings. Do you agree with his assessment, and will the county start exerting more oversight over the DA's office?
Okay, I'll answer the last question first. We've already done that. So when I inherited these cases, when I first got to the board, I had maybe a different view on how we should be handling these cases. I am almost a 30-year employee rights attorney, handled lots of sexual harassment cases representing employees. So my worldview was coming into this situation knowing, what do you have to prove to demonstrate to a jury or a judge that this was sexual harassment, retaliation, discrimination, etc. So I have from the beginning advocated for settling these cases. We have an investigative report that you talked about that is clear that there was sexual harassment. The guy that was the main harasser is dead. He got put on leave and then he died. And so we don't have him to, ask questions of. But yes, I've advocated for that from the beginning, and we have differences of opinions. There's now 3 different boards that have been managing these cases. because of how long cases take. And I'm still trying to get the cases settled because we're just going to keep paying money, and the money is your money. And I think the right thing to do is to settle the cases. Additionally, how do we fix the culture? How do we address the real concerns that were raised? Well, we had some discussion about what were some options. One of the options was to move the HR function to our county HR. So you create a buffer, you'd have a wall, there'd be anonymity a little bit more than directly, making your complaint to the person that reports to the district attorney, right? So I advocated for that. We moved the HR function to the county HR. So now there is that already in place. We also created some new policies that would allow for anonymous reporting of complaints. So that's something that we've done to protect the employees in the workplace. And, we're going to keep trying to address the concerns. When someone raises a concern to me about workplace hostility, violations, things that are not what we would want happening in any of our departments, then I immediately ask for them to research it, investigate it, and take prompt corrective action to prohibit. So that is where I come from. Protecting employees is important. Our employees are so great. The county employees are overall, they have decided, especially the lawyers, look, they've decided to be public servants and not go out and get that big corporate law job where they're making tons and tons of money. They're taking a fraction of the salary. They don't have the stocks and all that come from large firm jobs. And they do the trade-off, public service. Maybe they get a little bit more time with their family, although I don't know, the number of cases that are coming through the district attorney's office, it's a lot of work. So
I'm specifically curious about the whistleblower protections. What specifically?
we have pretty aggressive whistleblower protections. And now, well, we've always had a hotline. And then we now have a way for not only to use the hotline, but to report to HR anonymously.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to turn to Newport Beach for a moment. Newport Beach might nix the city's state-approved housing plan next year after residents spearheaded a ballot initiative that might curb the number of new homes built. I'm curious, is that something that just ends up in the courts for years?
Well, I think that they lost that case. I think that case is
It's
dead.
already done, dead.
Yeah,
No
I'm not sure
appeal?
if they're on appeal. I'm not sure.
There's not, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But that's squarely a city issue, not involving the county.
Okay. In San Clemente, they've installed cameras overlooking the iconic coastline to monitor for panga boats. But there are a host of privacy concerns surfacing about it. I know it's a city function, but can the county assure that we can balance those concerns with enforcement?
Right. So when I first learned about this, I would have said it is squarely a city issue. That's a city decision. But then the last couple of days have been receiving word that maybe these cameras are picking up a much wider net, even as far down as Laguna Beach, in terms of the camera capacity, which I had not heard that before. I thought it was just on the shoreline there. So I'm looking into that. I did hear that it's Laguna Beach, Laguna Niguel, Aliso Viejo, and Dana Point, that it can go as far as those cities, which I can't really comprehend how that works. So I have a call into the sheriff's department to find out what's going on. Is this necessary? It seems like an invasion of people's privacy. If it's going into people's homes, I mean, that doesn't seem like we would want that.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for the investigation.
Saying, everything in this job is about balancing, one interest against another. Public safety is obviously our priority, but we have to use the least intrusive means to protect the public.
Um, With the shooting of protesters in Minneapolis by federal authorities and the ramping up of the rhetoric behind it, what has happened there, or what happened right after those shootings, was they had asked the local authorities to create a line of local law enforcement to block people from going into film during raids. If the Department of Homeland Security asks for county resources like the sheriffs to secure a perimeter blocks away from scenes of raids in order to avoid civilians recording their actions, there's a couple of questions here. How would you vote on a request like that? And secondly, if an Orange County protester were shot by a federal agent, would you insist that county investigators be involved in that investigation? And how could you guarantee that they would?
Okay, well, both of these questions are related to other elected offices. The first is that the County Board of Supervisors, we do not have jurisdiction over directing the sheriff to do anything. However, the sheriff has already said that he will provide a safe place for residents, that he is not in the business of immigration, and that they will not be partnering with ICE for raids or anything else. They will show up to protect the public, to protect the right to, express your First Amendment right, but they're not going to be embedded with ICE. He has indicated, in a statement that he will enforce state and local laws equally without bias and without concern for citizenship. And that is what he's done, and it will not change. So they don't ask the immigration status of victims, witnesses, suspects, or those who call to report crimes. So I don't see that change. So your question about how would you vote on this? We wouldn't have a vote. That would be a decision by the sheriff. And based on his prior comments on this, and I've personally spoken to him about this, he's actually very concerned about how all the resources are being funneled to this deportation issue and away from what he thinks is the most serious threat of our time, and that is cybersecurity. And so he's very concerned about that, and we've talked about that. So the second part of your question was if someone shot someone. I'll go to another elected official office, the district attorney. The district attorney has told us in our public boardroom that as far as raids and activities go with regard to ICE, or for anyone for that matter, if someone harms someone, kills someone, they will be treated the same as any other type of crime. They will be prosecuted if the evidence shows that there is a crime. And it doesn't matter if you're an ICE agent or a bystander. They will treat that just like if it was somebody rolled up on a burglary and they shot someone. It's treated the same. So that, I think, is how it should be, because we are in a strange place here.
It is an odd time. It is an odd time. Thank you for that answer. I appreciate
For
that.
sure.
Here in Laguna Beach, the city recently hired a consultant to search for and advise on the types of businesses to recruit that could, A, afford to do business in this community, absorbing the high rent, and survive and thrive beyond just tourist season. However, some of those businesses that might be able to do that might not fit the view of some in this community, that we still need to keep the charming mom and pop brick and mortar businesses. You're a frequent visitor to Laguna Beach. Would you be comfortable walking into a YSL or an Apple store or a Rolex store here? And what would be an alternate solution?
Is this a trick question? Because I live in Costa Mesa. We have Southwest Plaza. I walk near those stores all the time.
But as a visitor to our charming little hamlet.
I don't know. It's not my job to decide what businesses are in Laguna Beach. That is for the building owners who are recruiting tenants. Truly, it's not even the Laguna Beach City Council's job. And so it's a private decision whether to open up a Gucci store on, PCH or any number of other stores that would be what we might consider high-end haute couture. But personally, I would, wouldn't mind if they had a Bottega bag store here, right? Um, But the reality is we have a vacancy issue here in Laguna Beach, much like we do in Costa Mesa. And so we have put together a group, and we're going to be having a roundtable discussion with the Laguna Beach and the Costa Mesa. You might not have known this, but your question helped me go right into something I'm doing. But we're having a roundtable with Laguna Beach and Costa Mesa chambers to discuss how can we activate some of these vacant spaces, vacant storefronts, vacant buildings. I mean, Harbor Boulevard in Costa Mesa is a good example. At the south end, a lot of vacancies. That's not good. It's not good because, one, we're not generating revenue. It's not good because, two, those vacancies tend to attract, vagrants and others that might not be rightfully on property. And it's not good because it's not creating jobs, right? So working with the city of Laguna Beach Chamber and the city of Costa Mesa Chamber, trying to identify different incentives, different ways that we can do recruitment. Why aren't they coming here? I will tell you, a lot of times we see some of our favorite restaurants, our favorite shops closing simply because they can't pay the rent anymore. I mean, look, I had a little place in Costa Mesa on Baker Street. Hank's Mexican Food was our favorite. And it was owned by this family, and the parents passed on, the daughters carried on the restaurant tradition. And then over the holiday break, we went over to get our breakfast burritos, and there was a sign, they're gone. That's it. They're done. They couldn't afford the increase in the rent. So
If I could interject for just a moment, I think that really locals in whatever city, whether it's Costa Mesa or here in Laguna Beach, need to put our money where our mouth is. We talk a good game, yet we are not as supportive of the local businesses as the visitors, which is why these businesses thrive when it's visitor season and they die off when it's not. And you mentioned the Mexican restaurant you loved. Restaurants have the thinnest margins of all businesses. Their margins are just so sliver thin that they have the toughest time of all.
right, but also if you pursue and attract businesses that have staying power for 12 months out of the year, those businesses are going to thrive more. As an example, those of us who live here, we don't often, whether it's Laguna Beach, Balboa Island, Newport, we don't often go in and buy tourist items, right? We're not buying little tchotchkes and things that say Laguna Beach unless we're buying a gift. So that is, if we have a lot of those stores, then that's going to contribute to the problem. So I think you got to have diversity. But again, the role that I would play in this is just simply to have a conversation. What can the county do? What can cities do to eliminate the permitting delays, the incentivize the businesses to come here? I mean, those are the kinds of things we can do as government, but it really is a marketplace issue. And as a capitalist, we just got to hope that people want to come here because they've identified a demographic that would be one that they could target.
Thank you. A success of the county supervisors was investing in community infrastructure ahead of the 2028 Olympics. Specifically, what infrastructure did you invest in?
Well, we are in the process of doing that. So we are getting ready to create an ad hoc committee. We'll have the Surfing Olympics right adjacent to District 5 in Trestles, which I think everyone thinks of as San Clemente, even though it's technically San Diego. And then we'll have the Volleyball Olympics in Anaheim at the Honda Center. But there'll be a lot of people staying here in Orange County and going to the Olympic Games in Long Beach or in LA, or not even going, but viewing them if we are able to set up a whole system of viewing. I'm excited about this opportunity. We need to get our rail project done, which is what we've been working on with the sand and the wall and making sure that that system is up and ready. We're working at Dana Point Harbor to get the hotels built, to get all the commercial core done, and to have that as like a seaside Olympic village, if you will. We are working on our shuttle system. We are looking at how do we partner together with the different businesses to bring some economic vitality and really capitalize on the Olympics coming to town. So those are some of the things we're doing. And then, of course, the sheriff and all of our local police, they have their own safety management plan that they're working on because, there will be a heightened effort to make sure that people that are both living here and visiting here are safe. We do have a concern about human trafficking during the Olympics. So that is something that they are prioritizing, making sure that we have protections in place. So there's a lot at play.
Regarding the rail specifically, are you having to jump through CEQA hurdles for that still?
There's many hurdles. There's the rail has to go through the Coastal Commission and also the Army Corps of Engineers, and in some cases, the state lands. But right now, our main challenge is getting through Coastal Commission in order to get our permits to place about 300,000 cubic yards of sand on the beach to create a buffer to protect the rail.
By the way, the engineering behind the movement of sand is incredible. I remember having this conversation with you on air. It's an incredible engineering feat. So congratulations on what they've done so far there.
Well, and there's a lot of things that we're working on. We created the Beach Coalition, the Sand Coalition, not Sand Coalition, the Beach Coalition. And we have been spending the last 4 or 5 months really getting a framework down and a set of foundational facts about the history of the area, the infrastructure, the sand opportunities. What are some opportunities that are real versus some that are, pie in the sky dreams? And what can we do to implement a plan for a sand? My vision is that we create a sand management plan for the whole coast so that we treat it just the same as we have a pavement index plan where we repair our roads during certain times so that we know that they're always nice. We have a pothole plan so that we fill potholes so that we know that the roads are safe and nice. We have infrastructure plans. We even have plans related to when do you change light bulbs, right? So we should probably have a sand management plan for our beaches that for every dollar we invest, we get back $3,000 on the return on the investment. And it's a major contributor to our economy, our coastal economy is.
Okay, thank you. Tell me if I'm out of date with this question because I read it. I read about it a few weeks back, and then have read nothing about it anywhere. So, in San Juan Capistrano, there are environmental questions mounting over a proposed battery storage site.
That is dead.
That's dead.
Yeah, we
Okay.
worked on that for a while. We were strong opponents of building that site there. Myself, Congressman Levin, I think every elected official in the area was against that because it was just the wrong site. And as part of that process, I worked on an ordinance at the county to develop a set of zoning plans and parameters, safety protocols, requirements. So we now have that. And that got approved by the board. So that project itself, though, they have withdrawn the application. And I had a meeting with them last week and they told me that in person.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there a site that's right?
We have these sites right now. We have one at the airport. We have a couple, one in Midway City, one in Stanton, I think. There are battery energy storage facilities already in Orange County, and there are right sites for them. It's just that wasn't one. And we need it because, I don't know about you, I drive an electric car and my husband drives an electric car and we are electrifying all around us. So we do need to have the systems to be able to support a clean energy electrical grid.
The voice of Laguna Station Jeep is electric.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. You expanded community programs, including mental health services, $682 million in state and federal grant funding. Will that increase over the next year?
I'm sorry, say your question again?
Will you be increasing the amount of funding for the community programs, including the mental health services?
Unlikely. Over the next year, we are seeing such dramatic cuts, it would be very tough to increase.
You're almost having to, as you said earlier, do more with less.
And we're just trying to maintain status quo right now.
We started off kind of funny, telling the story of how Diane Dixon did not show tonight. Give us some differences between you and your opponent.
Well, she's going to be at an advantage because she has all these questions that I had to answer here tonight if she ever does debate me. But let's see. I think a key difference is that I am somebody who I'm not just going to go with the status quo. If I have a difference of opinion on something and I feel that the community is wanting us to do something different, then I dig into those issues. I don't go with the status quo. If you look at our records, you'll see that her record is one where she votes, nearly every single vote is with her party, not bucking it at all. I think if you look at my record, you will not be able to say that. Sometimes I vote with the Republicans, sometimes I vote with the Democrats. Mostly my votes are about what is in the best interest of the greater good so that we can give good government services. Accountability is a big part of what I demand in government, and digging into contracts, making sure that we have metrics of success so that we can understand whether or not when we hire a vendor to go out and help people who are homeless, they're actually doing that. They're not just like shaking your hand and saying, hey, how's it going? That doesn't do anything, right? So having performance outcomes as part of our contracts, that's been something I've worked on for the last couple of years and had great success on. I think the other ways that I am different is, I'll give you Andrew Doe as a good example. I was one of the first people to call for his resignation after we learned that he had stolen money from the county, money that was intended to go to seniors who were Vietnamese in the Vietnamese community to care for them, pay for their food and their services during the pandemic. Money that was used to buy his daughter a home, to pay his property taxes, to pay his credit card bills. I asked for his resignation. I doubled down on that over and over and over again. And my opponent has yet to ever speak about whether or not that was good or bad. She's never called for his resignation. She's never expressed any opposition to what he did. Okay. I think that is the difference, is that if there is a wrong, I am going to be the voice for the community, because everybody out in the community, they're not able to have the kind of voice that we have at the county. I think also ways that we're different is public safety. You know, you can talk a lot and use a lot of rhetoric or talking points about whether or not you support public safety. But the fact of the matter is, I'm the only candidate that's endorsed by law enforcement at all levels, the deputy sheriffs, the deputy DAs, the local police associations, as well as the International Fraternal Order of Police. So I also have all 6 of the Fire Association organization endorsements. Now, that includes the city of Newport Beach, where she was the mayor. Why? Because I actually have actions that follow my words. I understand the investments in equipment, the investments in training, the investments in salary and benefits, the investments in mental health services. All of these things are important to keep our numbers where we want them so that we can be a safe community. There's a reason why Orange County has 3 of the top 7 or top 10 cities in California are right here in Orange County. It is because we invest in public safety. So I think those are just some examples. I think the other example is I show up. I mean, here we are. And
thank you for that.
I show up always. And I show up even if, I will say, one of my concerns coming in here tonight was because of all the emails and comments and Facebook posts and everything that people are writing about the San Juan Creek channel, that I was going to come in and I was going to have all the heckling, right? But it's my job to show up. I've always showed up and I'll continue to show up even if it's hard.
Would you agree with my statement that even though supervisors have a D or an R next to their name, you're really a nonpartisan body?
Absolutely. I vote with everyone on the dais. We vote the same 95% of the time. The couple of differences, I mean, recently we tried to pass a resolution to oppose offshore oil drilling, and I couldn't get the votes. So the majority who are supporting my opponent voted against a resolution banning offshore oil drilling. I mean, offshore oil drilling in Orange County across the whole state of California, we don't want that. And even Lori Davies, a Republican Assemblywoman who we do a lot of work together, she's great. I work with her often. She even came out in the paper this week. She did a survey, and the survey said residents of Orange County do not want offshore oil drilling. And so she even supports banning offshore oil drilling. So the county board is a nonpartisan position. And most of the work we do should be about public safety, accountability, making sure that the taxpayers' investment is being used wisely, and delivering good quality county services. That's what we're charged with. And it doesn't matter if you're a D or an R. In my case, look, I think the main difference is one of just a high standard of work ethic and a expectation that my team and that myself, that we work really hard, we deliver, we don't just talk, we deliver. I mean, we debate this all the time internally. Someone will say, oh, just say this. I go, well, no, we didn't do that. I can't say that. So we always try to deliver.
Before I let her go, any questions from the audience? Okay. Do you have a close, or shall I say?
I think I've talked
All
enough.
right. Thank
but
you, sir.
I appreciate the city of Laguna Beach, and Anne Marie, thank you for being here tonight and helping to host this event. Thank you to Voice of Laguna. Also, really important that we keep public radio alive. And look, I would ask for your vote. It's kind of weird to be having this in a city building where I feel like I'm not supposed to say that, but since it is a candidate forum, I would ask for your vote. I would ask you to get involved in our campaign. We launch our walking on Saturday. We'll be out in the community, and I hope I've earned your vote. I hope that you can see that I'm here to do the work. I'm not just a figurehead. And if there are issues that are hard, I'm willing to tackle them.
Where are you launching the walk from?
It'll be launched this time in Costa Mesa. You can go to our website at katrinafoley.com, and you can sign up to volunteer from our website.
As always, thank you, Katrina Foley.
Donate too.
Thank you very much. Katrina Foley, everybody, a big hand, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's awkward.